If you've spent even 10 minutes in the company of Sheldon Cooper, theoretical physicist and social savant from the Big Bang Theory, you've probably noticed his famous ritual. Knock, 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 penny. Repeated 3 times. Then again, and again. It's a habit so ingrained in the character, it might as well have its own IMDb credit. Fans of the show eventually learn there's a deeper, rather tragic origin behind Sheldon's compulsive triple knocking. It's revealed in season 10 that young Sheldon once walked in on his father having an affair. Traumatized by the experience, he developed the routine to give people time to cover up, literally and metaphorically. It's a moment that humanizes Sheldon, shedding light on a quirk that otherwise seems just part of his neurodivergent, borderline OCD personality. But as rich and poignant as that in-universe explanation is, the real-world story behind the knock is far less dramatic. In fact, it's wonderfully mundane. One of the show's writers once admitted that the triple knock wasn't born from a carefully outlined backstory or a deeply thought-out psychological profile. Nope, it came about because it was just funny. And that's why I love it, the beauty of simplicity. TV writing often walks a tightrope between character development and audience amusement. In a sitcom, laughs come first. If the character growth can tag along, even better. But according to the show's creators, the repetitive knock, one of the most iconic gags in the entire series, was initially written simply because it made people laugh. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's the punchline. 1 knock wouldn't be weird. 2 might feel like an accident. But 3 knocks and a name shouted in between, on repeat, transforms a mundane action into a comedy signature. The writers didn't initially assign it much meaning. In fact, in early drafts, it might have been a throwaway bit, a quirk for the sake of quirkiness, a color added to Sheldon's already very peculiar palette. But what began as a running gag soon became a defining characteristic. Much like Fonzie's leather jacket or Kramer's entrances on Seinfeld, Sheldon's knock developed a life of its own. When a gag grows up, this is where the genius of sitcom writing shines. Taking something born out of comedic instinct and giving it emotional depth down the line. Once the triple knock had been established and beloved by audiences, the writers retrofitted it with a backstory. But instead of cheapening the joke, it elevated it. That's a trick not many sitcoms can pull off. In lesser hands, giving a silly behavior a serious origin can feel like forced sentimentality. But the Big Bang Theory played it smart. They waited until the audience really knew Sheldon. They let the quirk become iconic. And only then did they explain it. The reveal hit fans hard not because it changed the behavior, but because it deepened our understanding of it, and of Sheldon. Suddenly, what once made us laugh also made us a little sad. We didn't stop laughing, but now the knock came with a twinge of empathy. That's good storytelling. The writer's room magic, but let's return to the hilarious simplicity that birthed the knock in the first place. Picture it, a room full of comedy writers, whiteboards filled with jokes and equations, spitballing lines for the next episode. Someone pitches Sheldon knocking on Penny's door 3 times, each time saying her name. Cue laughter. It's weird, it's unexpected, it's perfect. There's a kind of elegant laziness to it. The best kind of sitcom laziness. Not everything needs a thesis. Sometimes, things are funny because they're weird. Because they're awkward. Because they go on just a little too long. Much like Sheldon himself. The writer's room origin of the knock reminds us that not every great moment in TV history is born from some grand plan. Sometimes, the lightning in a bottle moment is just someone blurting out a silly idea that works. And in this case, it really worked. When fans take the wheel, the fascinating thing is that fans began to theorize about the knock long before the show offered any explanation. Internet forums were filled with speculation. Was it OCD? Was it a reference to particle physics? Was it an homage to some scientific principle? When the backstory about Sheldon's father finally aired, many fans were surprised. Some found it deeply moving. Others found it jarringly sad for such a lighthearted show. But what's undeniable is how invested fans had become in this one small behavior. And that's the beauty of serialized TV. A joke that starts out simple can grow into something deeply meaningful because viewers project meaning onto it. They watch. They rewatch. They look for patterns, reasons, and roots. Eventually, the writers answer those questions, or, sometimes, they let the audience decide for themselves. In this case, the writers did both. They gave the triple knock a backstory that added weight without removing the original humor, and that's a rare feat. The knock heard round the world. Sheldon's knock has transcended the Big Bang Theory. It's become a meme, a gif, a ringtone, a symbol. You'll see it on t-shirts, on TikTok reenactments, and referenced in other sitcoms. It's simple, it's repetitive, it's hilarious. But now, it's also meaningful. And that's why I love the Knox origin story, both of them. The in-universe explanation gives it emotional heft. But the real-world version, the one where it's just a writer's silly idea that stuck, is even more endearing. Because at the heart of every great sitcom moment is someone just trying to make someone else laugh. No trauma. No grand design. Just a goofy guy knocking 3 times and yelling, "Penny." That's the magic of comedy. Sometimes it starts as a punchline. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it becomes a legacy. Let me know if you'd like this adapted into a blog post format or include quotes, images from the cast or creators.